Hello, everybody from SAIS Europe in Bologna. We've been having for the past couple of days our Transatlantic Bridge Conference. This is an initiative by four schools of international affairs, two in the US, SAIS and the Jackson School at Yale, and two in Europe, which is Sciences Po and AI University. And it's a discussion on the state of transatlantic relations. And I think the backdrop to our conversations has been this broader trend of sort of fracturing in the international order, both fracturing politically, so we seem to be moving to a world of blocs, very much shaped by the China-US competition and what that's doing to international diplomacy, a hindered multilateralism because that world of blocs actually hurts multilateral efforts. When you have these, the rise of geopolitics, it becomes much harder to arrive at international agreements on climate, on trade, on many, many issues. So the world begins to look much more to the world prior to 1990 to the world after 1990. And then also sort of fractured politically because we're going to see most likely a decline in the provision of global public goods like security, deterrence, things like that. So sort of this fracturing political environment is very, very present throughout the conversations over the past 2 days. And then also fracture economically. We've seen this already with the sort of tightening of supply chains, effects on prices. For the first time, I was just reading an IMF paper on this recently. We seem to be seeing trade patterns align with political affiliation patterns. So countries are trading more intensely with allies than they are with non-allies. And this we hadn't seen since the end of the Cold War. And this is a sign of economic fracturing. This also seems to be happening in investment and in others. So, a much more fracturing environment. So then the question here has been, how do events in the transatlantic space, both elections in Europe, but also most significantly, the elections coming in the US, the presidential elections, how do they contribute to this? And to be honest, the conclusion here, in fact, we had an opening panel right behind me the first day of the conference, has been most likely we're going to see domestic trends that push towards fracturing, a weakening, rise of nationalist forces, many of which will foster policies domestically and internationally that will forward this fracturing. So if Donald Trump wins, he's now announced a flat tariff of 10% on all imports, but most recently he's actually said he's going to do away with income tax and substitute it by customs and tariff income. So imagine what that would do to international trade, but also international cooperation on climate and on many, many other issues. So there was little source for solace. The trend seems to continue to be towards this further fracturing. So we need to be ready and we need to deploy and develop the adaptation strategies, and this was both for business and governments and institutions, and this was part of the discussion that we had here. So fascinating set of exchanges, and very grateful to our partners for convening this very important conversation of academics, practitioners, and others. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye-bye. Bye-bye from Bologna.